down on Broadway, you know.
You just absorb it all.
I mean, there's so much insane talent there that it's like it's just is it crazy? Is it, I mean, is it crazy doing your thing in Nashville with just so much like I don't know. I mean, from me from the outside looking in, I mean, take for example, Los Angeles, it's an interesting place. Yeah, we have music, yes, we have entertainment, but it's so spread out and it's multiple things. It's music and movies and this and that and also Silicon Valley. But when I think of Nashville, I just think of it being so concentrated and like focused and I mean, what is it like to be a music artist in Nashville?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like probably the best place to be. I would say for us, it's kind of interesting. We kind of started in Birmingham and then moved to Nashville, which I think was a really big help for us. Um, a lot of people can like move here and then like try to start here, and I feel like you can get overwhelmed by the amount of people that are here trying to do the same thing as you, and like you look around and you're like, oh my god, that guy is like he's way fucking better at me that and at guitar like or like any you look around it's like oh that like she's like the best singer I've ever heard and so you're like around all this talent. I think it can be overwhelming if you um if you're like kind of scared of it. So I think for us it was good to like we started our career or like started the band in Birmingham and in Auburn and like let it kind of grow there in a smaller town for a little while before we made the jump here. And I think yeah, I think that let us not be quite as overwhelmed by like the sheer amount of talent that is just like here. And it's all very focused and concentrated in music, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But then like once you're actually here, it's like um being able to collaborate and like, just be in the same circles as all these other talented people, you can really like make the most of it. Like we found our producer here, we found songwriters and, you know, different people that we love to work with here. So it's just been like it's really good when you're trying to be collaborative, which is, you know, one of the best ways to do it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So it's almost like you have the best of both worlds because where you started was probably a little bit more of a low key setting and it enabled you guys to kind of get the wheels in motion. And then you go to Nashville and you just kind of take it up a whole nother notch, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
started and there was no one around us that was like, this is how you do it. This is how you're supposed to be an artist. We were just doing what felt like that we were just doing what felt good to us. Like there's like we weren't really surrounded by other artists. So, there was kind of a beauty to that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it kind of helps make the sound more of our own, not being so heavily influenced by like some of the Nashville sounds. Like there's a huge country music scene here too, and so people can get sometimes a lot of the artists can start to sound the same. So it actually probably is an advantage to start somewhere else and just do it all yourself and just like be able to kind of find your own sound in a way and then come to Nashville and be able to meet all these other people to just add into it and see where it takes you basically, I would say.
Yeah.
Really cool.
If
That's
you
really cool.
stand if you stand outside long enough in Nashville, you'll just turn country. It just happens. I don't know.
You just
You
stand
breathe
outside,
enough of the
suddenly
air.
you start picking
There's
up.
something about it.
Yeah,
But
that's hilarious.
but
I could see that. I could see, but it's diverse, right? I mean, it's a lot of like, yeah, it's got country, but there's a lot of rock and hip hop and stuff, right?
yeah. And it
Hmm.
is like
Well,
it's very concentrated, like as far as the overt music scene that you'll see is very like concentrated downtown, but it's still like a city. You still have to like go out of your way to make connections and figure out who to talk to and who to collaborate with because um I don't know, I feel like day to day you're just living in a house in a city and it's just a place unless you like make it something more, you know?
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
could just never leave.
Yeah, you know.
Leave your couch.
yeah.
Yeah.
Such as LA, in Los Angeles, the same thing. LA can really pull you into this vortex of just surviving and living and it can be a very distracting place within itself. So I totally know what you mean. It's like you can plug in, or you can just kind of like exist, and you could get pulled in either direction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, tell me, how did you guys get started? When did you first start playing together?
Yeah. We started, Alec and I started playing together in 2015. Um,
Mhm.
Towards like the probably around the beginning or of 2015, we were in college at Auburn. Um, and we were playing like covers and a few of the songs that were on the very, very first EP. Um, and then the next year, John joined us and
Mm.
started playing drums, and we started kind of having the full band outfit thing. So that was all in Birmingham too, and we lived in Birmingham for about 3 years, and before we moved to Nashville. And once we moved to Nashville, we were able to get Kevin to join us too, and kind of like start playing keys with us, and then um, really started focusing more on the original stuff. We've met, or like John said, we met Micah Talks, our producer, and started making like records, and we're lucky enough to get an agent pretty early on that could send us on the road, and then yeah, I mean that's kind of like the cliff notes, like pretty quick version at the start. But there, there was like times where we moved to Nashville and we were a wedding band on the weekends and original band during the week. We would work on our stuff during the week and play a couple weddings every month. That was how we paid rent to get when we first got here. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while. It's been like 9 years, close to 9 years since we started the band, but as a full band, really, our first thing was like the end of 2016. So it's really
Yeah.
been like it's really been seven-ish.
We'll call it 7.
Yeah,
We'll call it.
Evidence of change.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, that's cool. I think that's interesting that you guys did the wedding band thing and then the original thing. I think that I don't know. I know that some bands have done that, and maybe more should. I mean, because I don't know, just thinking from the outside in, and I'm curious to know your opinion of the process, but my thought of that off the bat is that okay, you're playing shows, you're staying in the groove, you're staying within your musical chops, and but yet you're doing the original thing at the same time. I think that's could be a good synergy while you're trying to pick things up. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and you're playing longer sets too to people that don't necessarily have to listen to you, so you kind of have to like cut your teeth figuring out what works and what doesn't. I feel like learning early on we were like, okay, if we're going to play an acoustic show, we got to like figure out songs we can harmonize on cuz that makes it just more interesting live. And it was like a big thing for all of us. And when John joined, it was like, oh, now we can do 3-part harmony. Like that's fun and
Yeah.
something worth pursuing. But and then we would, slowly slip original songs in there here and there. But it made it so by the time we played our first original show, we had played hundreds of 3-hour gigs together before. So we had experience playing live.
And it's a great way to make money in the meantime while you're trying to start up a new band. It's like a great weekend gig. You can like help pay your bills, get all the experience in front of the crowds, get better at your instrument, kind of
Yeah,
be a band, but not an original band.
mm,
There's
yeah.
there's there's advantages to it, but it is kind of soul sucking at the same time.
Hey, this is Jeff. I'd like to take a second and tell you about this channel. I really encourage you to hit the subscribe button. This really helps out the channel, helps it grow. And also, if you can like and put your comments for this video, that'd so much be appreciated. This really helps me to continue to book amazing artists that hopefully inspire you and continue to grow this channel. Thank you.
Well, it can be. I think, yeah, I think it can be soul sucking if like because like our goal was never to do that. Like I think like I think it could be fun, but I think that we just always had wanted like getting into music. It was always um to write our own and to have our own music be the main thing. So the wedding
mhm.
stuff definitely felt more like a job, but we definitely just got to play together a lot, which was
Yeah.
which was good for
Mhm.
like chemistry and like now. It's not
That's my
like
thought.
we've played so much together at this point that it's like kind of hard. I feel like it'd be hard for us to like be not together on stage. Like even when we feel like we're not together on stage, it like we listen back and it's like, oh, okay. It's just there's so I mean there's so much time that we've spent together. Like we just know how everybody does things, which is great.
Mhm.
Musically, I mean.
So much synergy, I would think, just from playing all the time, and then you get into the originals. I mean, let me ask you this, because this would be my mindset for you guys at that time. Had I known you or been in your circle, it's just like, okay, we're gonna do covers, but we're gonna do covers that kind of quasi like is somewhat related to what we are as a band, or somehow have influenced us. I mean, is that how you approached it to pick the songs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely don't want
Mhm.
to play songs that you're not like a fan of. So you got to play stuff that you like aren't going to get tired of playing 150 times in the course of a year or something like that.
Yeah.
No, I could see that. I could see that. That
Yeah.
would be my game plan. I mean, I've been in cover bands, and that was always kind of my logic. It's like, well, original is really more my thing, but it was always in the back of my head. It's like, well, wait a minute. If we're playing music that kind of fits in with what I write originally, that's what I would do. Is just, hey, let's pick some songs that are kind of in the vein of either where we are, where we want to go, and then when we flip it, or when we slip our originals in the set, it's not like this. Hey, what are they doing? It's like, no, well, it fits right in
Mhm.
what we're giving to you guys.
Well, that was the
Yeah.
first time when I first played with Alec and Joseph. They were an acoustic duo, so I hopped in on the drums and I was learning all the songs and but there were some originals slipped in on like the song list. So I was like, "Oh, what are these?" And then they showed them to me and I was like, "Oh, wow, I would have never known it was an original." It, they just kind of like they just kind of like flowed right into the set.
I
So,
did know. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's I could totally see that, and that's the thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. Was I heard your cover of "Don't Worry, Baby," which was killer, man, killer cover.
Thank you.
Tell me about it. Was that from the original days, or is that a new selected cover? Yeah.
How did that one even come about?
That was
John?
John.
I yeah, I think that I don't know. I just knew that we all sang and like that was like that's like kind of been our bread and butter. And so I thought it would be cool if we kind of did an acoustic version of that Beach Boys song. And it really didn't take long for us to just like, put the like slap the harmonies on there. It's just it kind of came about like really organically. Like it
Yeah.
was just, oh, okay, here's the song. All right, let's do some oohs and ahs. We all came from choir and like a cappella, so it kind of has that vibe to it.
Nah.
Um,
Didn't we
I-
also like we played it on tour for a long time before we
Mhm.
recorded it,
we
right?
started doing it live first,
Oh
and
yeah.
then and then COVID hit, and we were like, okay, we don't have like a new album right now, so I was like, let's record this acoustic version.
Is that
Um,
I thought somebody was like I thought we had a fan that DM'd us and was like, I will pay to get this song recorded. And we were like, well, we might as well.
Yeah.
that might have been like
Someone
some
did.
like inspiration for it, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, I admit I need to hear this version. Like, I'll pay for you to record it live. And then we were
Mhm.
like, okay,
Like,
we'll
okay,
do it.
might as well.
And we did it.
And then
And
we just
then,
Yeah.
released it,
yeah,
and it's kind of become like a staple in the catalog on the acoustic covers, hitting
Yeah.
those
yeah, we
covers.
don't play, we didn't play it that much
Well,
Been
um past year, but it still does well on the old Spotify.
That would be a good one to bring back for like a tour like a year from now. Like we gave it a good break, but
Yeah.
bring it back for the
We gotta practice those
yeah.
oohs and ahs
Yeah.
again.
Ooh,
well,
It was
covering the Beach Boys, that's no small feat. I mean, those are really beautiful and intricate harmonies, and if that came easy for you guys, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that means you guys sing very well together. That's such a natural thing, right?
yeah, I mean, we just all grew up in choir. I think we just had that kind of bass ready to go.
Mhm. I will say probably part of why we've phased it out at some point is we realized it's not as easy. There were some days where it was hard to sing
That's true.
and be perfectly in tune. So it definitely takes practice for that one specifically, but
The ultimate harmony.
uh-huh.
So take me
Yeah.
to, you guys get to Nashville, and that's kind of when you solidify everything. And then, are you doing shows, or are you focused on recording? Well, you already told me about the shows, but are you immediately trying to record an album? And what was the game plan?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely. I don't know that to be honest with you, I would tell you that we didn't really have a game plan. We were just doing stuff. Like it was just kind of like we're moving to Nashville to try and make this thing work. We need to record some song. Like we need to record an album. We're a band. Like a band needs an album. So I guess it was just they were kind of like loose goals in mind, but we
Like
didn't really.
finding a producer
Yeah, I mean, we
was a
found.
big one.
Yeah, the first thing we really did was find Micah, our producer. Like the first thing we made a plan to do was find somebody that we could record with, and we did, and we've been recording with him literally ever since. Everything that we've done except for the "Don't Worry Baby" cover has been with Micah Talks.
How'd you find him?
I reached out to a bunch of people and got like a list of producers. And so sat down with everybody and we like listened through songs from each of those producers. And then Micah was just, we seemed to all be like, yeah, we should talk to this guy. And
Yeah.
so we went and talked to him. And yeah, shortly after that, we made Halfway Up, which was the first single off of the album that we made, or the first album that we made in Nashville. Yeah, that year 2018 was kind of just, like we moved in January and we were still kind of doing our wedding band cover band side gig. Like we had some side gigs while we just continued to kind of figure out, okay, how do we do this music thing? We're not in Birmingham anymore, but we're in Nashville. So we, through playing live shows, we picked up an agent who started putting us on the road more, to play our original songs. And that, yeah, it just all kind of coincided where 2018 ended up being a really pivotal year for us to, find our footing up here.
Yeah.
And just kind of grew on that in 2019 when we released First Place, continued touring, opening for bands. And the way that we kind of started was just like we're like, what am I? Like we were a wedding and a cover band. So our bread and butter has always been just being a good live band. So like the way that we've grown a fan base is just kind of grassroots, like through the live shows and everything. But yeah, 2018, 2019, we're going hard at it. And then our tour, our like First Place tour ended March 9th of 2020. And then that's kind of like when the world shut down. So everything kind of seemed to change around then. It was like chapter 2. I don't know.
And that was around the time when I joined the band too. That 2019, or no, I guess 2020 tour was the first tour I had ever been on in my entire life. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And then we get done. And then it's like COVID.
Well,
And like, no more
Yeah.
touring.
No more tour for you.
It was like all this oxygen just got sucked out of the air, man. It was man, that must have been tough because you guys were picking up steam, doing the stuff, touring, and like what was that like? So you're doing your thing, like you said, 2018, 2019, you're really breaking through, you're doing your first initial tours, and then COVID. Like how do you deal with everything slowing down and staying motivated during that time?
Live streams.
True.
live streams. Well, we were super fortunate we finished our entire headline tour 2 weeks before COVID hit. So we had like finished a big tour, but then
Yeah.
no one knew it was going to last that long. You kind of just took it one day at a time,
So true.
Yeah, kind of like everybody else. I mean,
Mm,
I would say after that tour, we were like happy to be home for a little bit because we had just been on the road for like 5 months. And so we're like, all right, this is a nice little break. And we just didn't realize like how long it was gonna last. I feel like 6 months in, we like was when we were like, okay, this is like,
Not good.
yeah,
nah.
like this is we really got to figure out how to like adapt to this. Like
Yeah.
as a band whose bread and butter had been playing live, it's just like it was just something we couldn't do anymore. Um, but I will say COVID was like it wasn't all bad for us as a band because we released an album right before COVID. And then during COVID, I mean, all like streaming went up like across the board, but we found like a little spike. Like a lot of new people discovered us during lockdown, which was great, to kind of feel some momentum and feel like, oh, this thing isn't just falling apart because we can't play live. It's like, oh no, people are discovering us. Now they're excited to come see us on the tour, on the post-COVID tour. So that was good. But we really just hunkered down and we made an album. We made Yard Sale.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
And we did these series of live streams that were like decades related, where we would do.
Went
I
back
think
to
it
being a
started
cover
with the
band.
Beatles. Yeah, the first one we did was like all our favorite Beatles songs, and it turned into like, well, then we did a '70s one and an '80s and a '90s, and it
When
we had so much fun doing them,
Yeah.
in
honestly.
50 years, when we look back on the Brook and the Bluff, we'll look at those Instagram live streams as one of the greatest things we've ever done.
We peaked.
It's recorded
Mhm.
from an iPhone. We did a 70s live stream, an 80s live stream, and a 90s live stream, and they were like some of the most fun we've ever had. It was great. And I
It's
think they're
all.
living on YouTube, or like Google Drive at least, but yeah.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We're really proud of those. I mean, obviously joking about like the greatest thing but like we love doing those things. So,
But
but
looking back, we're like,
6 months. Yeah.
we put a lot of work into.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
There's nothing else to do, you know.
And would you say it kept your fans engaged during that process? At least you had that going on. Maybe more. I don't know. You tell me. Maybe more engaged than. I mean, listen. I mean, as you know, there's nothing better than a live show. Period. In person, in your face, feeling the music right in front of you. But the live stream, I don't know. I mean, what did you take from that? Being able to connect with your fans and keep it going.
Yeah. I think for us it was like just like doing stuff to play, to keep playing together. Honestly, I don't know. What did we take? That's a good question. I took away, it was just fun. For me, it was fun. I don't know that I took anything away from it other than like
It was
just like
Probably not,
yeah. It
it's
was like
probably not something we would do. Like it was very in specific for that moment in time. It was like the perfect thing to do then, I would say.
Yeah,
specific in time for sure.
it felt like a show. Like
Yeah,
I was
for sure.
nervous. I was probably more nervous for those than a show.
that
Uh-huh.
is true.
Being
Because
Because
taped.
it was
It is live.
it was live. You didn't know, you had no idea how many people were gonna tune in. And like, I don't know, it was just weird. Um,
it
but
was
it felt
Instagram
special.
live.
It was so fun. Yeah.
What's a trip is that I think, and I have to go back and check my Spotify because I make a monthly playlist of just discovering new artists that I already like, and somehow I believe you guys showed up on my release radar somewhere in there, probably in the COVID years, and I was like, man, what a great, cool band, cool sound. I love your sound. Wanted to take it back to your producer. I mean, it sounds so natural how you guys sound, and it sounds so like timeless. That's the biggest thing I could. You could take your record, particularly halfway up to me, which is like I think my original introduction. You guys, which I love that, but it's timeless. You know what I'm saying? Like from that standpoint, to me, it's like when I'm listening to it, I'm like, dude, this could be in the '80s. It could be the '90s. It could be, you know what I'm saying? And those are the best artists I like is when I hear an artist and I say, you know what, man, you could take this song, you could go back in time, you could go forward, and it's still a great song and a great delivery. And I don't know, is that something that you were striving for when you were recording with the producer and going about it for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like as especially being a band, that's probably one of the best like compliments you can have is a band that like holds up through any kind of like if you want to put it in any era or any time or like a band that kind of feels like you could come back to them at any point in your life even I think is a really special quality to have. So I think that I don't know that we consciously make music with an idea of it trying to be timeless. I think you just kind of become like this giant melting pot of everything that's influenced you before. And I think that for all of us, like most of the music that we listen to is pretty like timeless in a way. Like even the current people that we listen to now, or like the bands that we all love, that like growing up, or old bands that we've gotten into since we've been adults. I think that one of the qualities of the music that we all listen to is it all does feel like pretty timeless. Like it doesn't. I wouldn't say that we're in, we don't like jump on like musical trends and listen to like a bunch of stuff all the time. Um, like there's not a lot of hyperpop like going on in the van when we're driving on a tour. Not that there's like not a time for hyperpop, and not that I honestly don't love like 100 gex or something like that. I think just like the stuff that we gravitate back to just happens to be more like naturally like timeless music, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just, I don't know. There's just this quality to it that's like, and I love that. I love that it could be from any time, any place, because to me, that it has that longevity feel to it. And there's nothing wrong with, music that's time specific or anything like that. But it's just, that's one of the things I picked up about, listening to your music is just, it really, man, it could be from any time, any place. And I think that's really cool. When you recorded it, are you guys recording digital or analog?
Um,
It's digital.
yeah,
Digital.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Awesome.
Michael will use a lot of analog tricks. I know we'll record everything digital into Pro Tools, but a lot of stuff gets sent through tape machines,
Okay. Okay.
um, and gets sent through like different tape plugins and stuff that are that are still digital or in the box, but they replicate analog sound.
Man, that's
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's got a lot of analog gear,
yeah.
like racks and
Uses
stuff.
all.
But
We
yeah.
have a lot of outboard like gear that we use like on the like whether it's on like a vocal chain or whether we're doing drums. Like he has a lot of really nice like compressors and preamps and things like that we're like going through before it even gets or like as we're tracking. So it already just sounds
Mhm.
usually just immediately sounds like warm and classic and really really good always.
I was gonna say that, yeah, like warm. It's got this fat uh tape sound to it, and
Mhm.
yeah, it just sounds so clear but so warm at the same time, and man, it's impressive. So, tell me, like when you guys, yeah, how do you write? Is it one of those things that you write individually and then you kind of get together afterwards, or is it, how do you put your songs together?
Yeah. A lot of them are different. A chunk of them have been like individually. I'll start them and then bring them to Alec, and then we'll kind of like work on them a little bit, and then we'll bring them to the whole band. Or Alec will have a riff, or like a little bit of a structure with maybe some melody and stuff there. Usually, we'll start with one of us two, either Alec or I, and then we'll kind of work on it and then bring it to the band as a whole. Um, but truly, whenever we get asked this question, it is kind of funny because I feel like I could go down song by song on our records, and like every one of them is a little bit different as far as like how
Mhm.
it got to the end to the finish line. Um, like if I think about, I mean, if you think of like I'm thinking about this EP that we just put out, like Sold Out was Alex started that song, and then This Could All Go Nowhere came out of that song in a weird way. Like we were trying to track a different version of Sold Out, and then it became This Could All Go Nowhere, which is on the which is like the title
Yeah.
track of the EP. Blue Jean, and then like if you Blue Jean was done, like I pretty much did that whole structure and everything by itself and brought it to the guys, and I was like, hey, I think it needs to be this, and we just kind of recorded it.
Yeah.
Calling Cards is like this 10-year-old song that we've all chopped and edited and done like different things to in the like span of working on that one. And then
Mhm.
and then Bad News, like our friend Wes like kind of wrote like a lot of that one, and then like I did the lyrics, and then we all wrote the bridge together. And so it's like this weird like kind of every song has kind of a bit of a different story. We're definitely moving more collaborate, like we're moving towards doing more things with like like all together, I would say.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, there's
there's
no rule. Like
not really a
for a
rule.
long
I think,
for a long time we would write, like we would sit in Joseph's apartment with like a loop pedal
yeah,
and make loops and write to that, or Joseph would have like an acoustic thing that, like, a lot of them would start as like these voice memo ideas that are like very bare bones, but the
yeah,
song is there, and then we
yeah,
bring it to the studio, and that's when it like really comes to life, and
yeah,
it's like its own process of writing too.
yeah.
When
Which also I think is like an important principle. I feel like if, and maybe this is a real singer songwritery thing, but I feel like all of our songs you can just play them with one acoustic guitar. Like there's a way to just play any of our songs with one acoustic guitar and like the melody, or like
Mhm.
two instruments in the melody, and it's holds up as a song. And I think that that's a really important thing to have, is like not is to like have for a band at least, is to have that quality where you can take everything away from it and it still holds up, and the song itself is still holding itself up just by like the song. um
Absolutely.
if that makes sense.
Oh, for
Mhm.
sure, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
very important. I mean, to me, if you can strip it down to vocals and a guitar and it's still there, then I think you have something for sure. And
yeah,
that's really interesting of like the voice notes, for me, and I know, other artists as well. It's like sometimes you'll do that voice memo and you email it to yourself, and you know what I'm saying. You have all the you're like, oh man, and the drums would kind of be like this, and you're beatboxing that, and then you're doing them. Maybe you don't know the lyrics, but you're humming the melody, but you have it in your head. You're like, oh man, this is so amazing, and then you try to take that voice memo to the studio and somehow recreate it or make it like. Is it a struggle getting it from that initial idea and fleshing it out in the studio, or is it just something that comes natural, or how do you work that?
um most of our ideas that make it to tracking are pretty like, I feel like once if we're gonna go to record a song with Micah, it's like, not that it's not tough or there isn't like arrangements to figure out and things like that, but I feel like it's pretty like decided that that the song is there, if that makes sense. uh maybe I just
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Well, that's how like most of it has been. The longer we go on too, though, there's like, I don't know. I feel like a sweet spot for us we're realizing too is like some of these songs, the old songs we played live, you know, 100 times before we ever recorded it. And so there's also a beauty in like, especially a live band like us, playing a song together so many times until it just does sound, you kind of find the best version of the song sometimes.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of merit to doing that and then taking the best version you've crafted by playing it live into the studio to then record it.
yeah,
Um, which is, we've done that, but we've also, you can use the studio as like a lab to experiment and create something with the tools you have in the studio that you would have never been able to think of just with the instruments you have in a room. So
Yeah.
no, there's no rules really, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
So
like what?
whatever
Does
comes.
the song I feel like does the song mean something to you is what is really the most important thing.
But I know what you mean. It's like sometimes you have the initial song, you first put it together, but it's almost like you're still kind of forming it, and then after performing it a certain amount of times, it's like there's a certain point you just know, right? It's like, okay, this is about where it should be, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there
Or
are
like,
moments of discovery in the studio, like especially with different sounds and stuff, it can trigger something in your head to be like, oh wow, we can take this in a direction that you wouldn't have even thought of before, but then you like play this like synth or whatever, or
mhm.
Micah pulls out some crazy filter and it just adds a whole new layer to the song. Like, so usually those voice memos are like a great seed, and then the studio is where we kind of like let it let it grow and figure out like what different levels to it, different creative ideas we can add to it.
Well, I was gonna actually ask you guys about that because Blue Jean is another great song, and I was listening to it and I love the way it ends. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, it starts, it's slow, okay, it's slowing down. Okay, it's slowing down. It's like, is that the band or is that an effect or what's going on there?
That is a tape. That is like a tape slowdown over the whole master bus. There's like a slowdown. I don't know. I don't think he ran it. Maybe he went back and actually ran the whole master through tape and then did the slowdown, but I think it's just a plug-in that emulates a tape machine and that like emulates hitting it, turning it off. And so like the whole reel would be slowing down.
And it slows it down without changing the pitch, I guess. Because
Yeah.
typically the pitch would like lower, but he
Yeah.
had some way to like keep it all sounding.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Wow. No, I love that ending. It was very creative, and I love anytime you're listening to something, you're like, wait a minute, what's like, what are they doing? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool ending, and it sticks with me. I think that sometimes it's the ending that'll really get you to come back to the song and give it another listen. So tell me about so you're recording with Micah. I mean, it seems like he's a perfect fit with you guys as a band and just where you're trying to go. And then the tours, like what was that like? First going on the road, and who did you tour with, and what was your vibe with transitioning into that?
Yeah. Our first like official tour was opening up for a band called Ripe.
Oh,
Um, like a seven-piece band. They were based in Boston at the time. They had all graduated from Berkeley. It was crazy. That was, I mean, we had done some shows. We had done like some So Far Sounds, and we'd done like some DIY touring that was like we put together 5 house shows and played at a music conference and drove out to LA, and that was how we did our first tour. But like the first real tour we went on, I guess was, and that actually that is a real tour. I don't want to say that that's not a real tour. We just did it ourselves.
Mhm.
The first like
Venue.
venue
Tour.
tour where we're
Yeah.
walking into a different venue every night and like there's a rider and like that kind of shit was with Ripe. And it was, I mean, it was awesome. We're just like a bunch of 25-year-olds driving around in a van together and like playing 45 minutes of music. It was sweet. I think um the transition from what we were doing, which was playing 4-hour gigs of songs that we didn't necessarily want to play, to only playing our music. I think like that it was the best it was like the best transition ever. It was kind of like, oh, we get to not like we don't have to play Beast of Burden anymore. Hell yeah. Like not the
Yeah.
no shade to Mick Jagger
Yeah.
and the Stones, but
no shade to the Stones, but you about
Yeah.
that's their song. I didn't want to play it anymore.
There was a certain point I feel like where we were like it didn't matter how much you love the song if it's not your song and it's the 200th time you've played it, it's hard to like really feel I don't know. It's hard to present it in a super excited way. There's like a point you hit
Yeah.
Yeah, one is
unless you're just a
authentically,
pro at it, you know?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
one is authentically you, and one is someone else, which is nothing wrong with it, but I totally get what you're saying. It's like one is really coming from your being, you know, and that's
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And yeah, that's interesting. You guys played with Ripe because I could see that. I could see the two of you guys on the road together. I
Them
mean, what's
so
it like, you know, because I'm sure you had your base in Auburn and then also to Nashville. I mean, you're going to a different city, you know, looking to connect with new, you know, fans that connect to your music. What's it like to go to a new town and, you know, and maybe they don't know about you, but you win them over? What's that feeling like?
Oh man, it's always really cool. I guess for me, I still don't know that like I'm like sometimes like even now, like we just did these opening runs with Rainbow Kitten Surprise and like Steven Sanchez and like basically the same we're still that's the same idea. You're walking into this you're walking into this thing where it's like you're trying to win over a bunch of people. I think for us it's just like we if we were able to get people to again, I mean like I hate to keep harping on it because I don't know. We didn't want to be it for so long, but we were able to like turn people's heads playing weddings, and then people literally did not give a shit about us. Or like we would like I remember like it to me like it's cooler that like we used to play Moe's Barbecue, and when we would play Straws, people would come up to us and ask what that one song was in the middle of like Use Me like that like it's the same feeling.
Yeah.
It's just it's like it's the same feeling, just kind of like a little bit more like I guess professional because now we're doing it in real venues. It's like kind of, and it's honestly easier because all those people bought a ticket to come see Rainbow Kitten. They bought a ticket to come see like Steven Sanchez or Ripe or Ash or whoever we've opened for or Mount Joy. Like they bought a ticket and they trust that band to pick somebody that's gonna like open the show up in a good way. So I think it's I mean, it's a really cool feeling. And I think it's also really cool for us to have gotten to this point and be like, oh, that's like a thing we're confident in, is we can walk out in front of a crowd of like a lot, like pretty much anybody and play 45 minutes of like really high energy, like music. Like, or like,
Mhm.
we're at least gonna like, like, we're gonna have fun, like, and perform the shit out of it. So I think it's
Yeah.
just to answer your question, it's a really great feeling. It's like really we're really fortunate to be able to do it too. Um, but
And
yeah,
So fortunate that Ripe that was such a perfect first tour for us to go on because we were opening for Ripe for 2 months. So like we didn't have the stress of traveling for 2 months worried that no one was gonna show up.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but they were also not only like the sweetest, most wonderful dudes ever, but they had such a high energy show that it forced us to be like, we can't be lower energy than they are because no one's gonna care at all. Like
yeah.
it like pushed us to
Um,
be like, oh no, like we are gonna put on an energetic show because that's what people came to see. And then doing it for 2 months across the country, like I feel like just taught us a whole lot about how to put on a good live show too, in an original setting, at least.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but
So we've opened for a lot of people, and it's kind of crazy looking back at how many like tours we've opened, like Rainbow Kitten, Mount Joy, Ash, Steven Sanchez, Ripe, like all these things. But we've also done so many like headline shows ourselves. Thinking about all like the venues in each city that we've like come up through. Like if you take New York, it's Rockwood Music Hall, and then like Mercury, and then the Bowery, and then we sold out
Webster.
Webster Hall. And it's like it's really cool to look back and be like, oh, all these cities that we've been coming to for like 6 years, and just like we've just seen so many venues and so many different sizes of crowds. I just feel like we're so lucky that we've gotten to play um, for all the people that we've gotten.
yeah,
That's got to be
Yeah.
a great feeling. So it's like every time you guys come back, you kind of leveling up, leveling up. I mean, what does that feel like? You come to a city that you maybe played before, and you were the opening act, and now you're the headliner. I mean, what's that? And now they know your music. Like, what's that like, man?
It's really exciting, honestly. I'd say like when you're opening for the huge crowds, in the moment you hope you're connecting with a bunch of people, but you don't really know for sure how many people you're getting to. But then when you come back to that city and you see that you can like fill up a room with 1,000 people, I mean it kind of validates you. It's an
Mhm.
amazing feeling.
Yeah, that's like the reward, I feel like,
Yeah.
for and people that came that playing that they know your music. Like they're all there for you. They're singing your songs, and it feels like so much more of a cool collective experience that, yeah, I don't know.
You see the growth. You see the growth.
Yeah, you see the growth.
You know.
Um, but I remember, I mean, I'll never forget on the like on the flip side, I can remember playing like one of our earlier on, I think played like the high watt or one of those. We sold out like 100 cap venue in Nashville for the first time, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And then the next day we played in Raleigh or something and showed up, and I mean, 3 people walked in the door.
3 people. I remember that.
Literally, we turned to each other and had to ask, like, "Do we play? Like, do we start? Or do we just" it
Yeah.
leaves you with that feeling of, like, didn't matter that we sold out for 100 people the night before, you're like, "Are we supposed to be doing this?" Like, it seems, like, cataclysmic
Crazy.
in the moment.
Like it can only go up from here.
How do you
Yeah.
is that how you overcome it? You just look at it and just say, "Hey, you know what? This is the base. We're building the house." I mean, how do you go through that in the moment? Know that it's going to get better.
Yeah. I mean,
We treated it like a rehearsal almost.
yeah. And like at the end of the day, it is all fine. Like at the end of the day, we're just playing music. Like we're playing music together,
Mhm.
able to do that. Like like
Yeah.
I think if you look like that is a lot of that is a saving grace when you get to the baseline or like when you get to the bottom or you walk into Raleigh and there's 3 people there. It's like, oh, well, I mean, at least we're still playing our songs. And then now too, like when there's another thing on the flip side of that, when you like don't sell a lot of tickets or something, it's not like there's definitely like I think somebody I don't know who said it, but I saw somebody that was like, you play the show for the people that are in the room. So even if there were 3 people or 12 people, we're gonna play the same way because you don't want to take it out on the people. Like if you have a shitty attitude on stage because there aren't enough people there or something like that, you're like essentially taking it out on all the people that bought tickets to come and see you anyway.
Mhm.
So you can't like so there's not really like it's okay. It's like if you don't sell as many tickets as you want, you can't be
They
a
honestly end up being like more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
also
just
Yeah.
like
that. Like it's
yeah.
really your diehards that are there a lot of times at the less attended shows. It's like
Mhm.
people that really want to come see you play.
And
And
it's
then
like the thing that keeps you going, that's a measure of your success, has nothing to do with the number of people in the room. It's like, did you make an impact on the people that were there?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the 3 people that were there. What about the people working? I mean, there's
Mhm.
somebody there that's going to connect, right? And then it goes on from there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it does always feel good when a venue worker comes up and is like, you guys ripped. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You know that they see so many concerts. And so you're like,
Yeah.
"All right, if you like us, then like that's probably a good thing."
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Because you're right. They see everything that comes through. So if you stand out, that means you did something. You moved them some kind of way. You guys are so on point because that was going to be my next question. Was like the challenges you guys have been through, and I think that is a perfect example of just hitting the road, grinding it out. And it's like you said, at the end of the day, you're playing music, you're doing your thing, your passion, and that gives you the energy to keep going.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
cool. So tell me, what's next for you guys? What's coming up in 2025? We're gonna get another album, a tour. What's happening?
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of discussing that like between ourselves right now. I think the main goal for us is to write really, really good songs. Write good songs together and figure out and like write some really good songs together that we know we can take onto a stage and like kind of like blow people away with. So I think we're definitely looking to make a new record. I don't know when it'll like finish. But right now we're just kind of taking time to, yeah, like be at home for the first time. And like, I feel like we've been, since we returned to touring from COVID, I think we've come home from a tour and it's been like, oh, there's 2 months until the next tour. Oh, 3 months, like that kind of thing. So you're kind of always in this perpetually like getting ready for another tour cycle. And this is one of the first times we've had to kind of not do that if we don't want to. We can just focus on making like the best possible next thing that we can. And that's like been exciting for us. We're like kind of going back to being just some guy, like seeing what we can do with just like the four or five of us in a room, like playing live, like bringing that kind of energy to a record, which is an exciting concept for us.
Yeah.
How many songs you guys got in the bag? Do tell.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Probably have quite a bit, yeah.
There's a lot of voice memos.
There's a lot of voice
memos.
memos. They're not
Mhm.
finished. We're probably, I mean, we're like a good 10 to 12 like ideas, songs in. But we want to probably have double that to pick from. So
Mhm.
And we've got an EP coming out next week. So
yeah,
Yes,
also
yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Tell us about that.
There's also that.
that's an EP of some of it's 5 songs, and I think Joseph actually talked about them earlier. The Bad News, Blue Jean,
Yep.
Calling Cards, This Could All Go Nowhere, and Sold Out. But yeah, those all kind of came together over the last year. Just kind of randomly. Like we got back in the studio just because we had songs that we wanted to record. We didn't have an idea for what it would turn into, but somewhere along the way our manager was like, "How about we make an EP out of them?" And we were like, "That sounds good."
Sure.
So yeah, and
We were just trying not to overthink it, I feel like. And just release, instead of sitting on 5 songs for another year till we had 12 or whatever. It was like, let's just put them out.
yeah, feels good to release an EP too. It feels like very
Mhm.
digestible.
And it's a fun EP. Every song's got its own thing going on. Like
That's right.
it's a ride.
There's no
I love
theme. It's just whichever each song is its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
no real cohesiveness in the songs except that they were all made kind of at the same time.
Mhm.
That's the
cohesion
title.
is that it's us.
By the same band.
Is that how you came up with the title? This could all go nowhere because they're all kind of like going in their own direction.
Yeah, in a way, it's the title of that one song. There's a lyric in the first verse of "This Could All Go Nowhere." It kind of had the title, and I think it's just like a fun way to kind of like a fun joke to make on like the whole thing in general. Like, this band stuff could all go nowhere. The music could all go nowhere. Like, we could put this out and nobody could give a shit. Nobody would listen to it. And you know what? That's fine.
Mhm.
It's all fine. It could all go nowhere. It could go somewhere. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it will, and hopefully it does. But
But like that's not the point.
yeah,
It's like we enjoyed making these songs and we're excited to share them. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah, my voice teacher would say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
There you go.
Is it true? True.
So far, I think it's true.
Yeah.
If you can keep that in mind, if you're obsessed with your destination all the time, it's really easy to get depressed and not look up and realize how good you have it in the moment. So
Yeah.
And the destination's always changing too. So I mean, nobody will ever truly reach the end. It's all the journey.
Getting deep.
Yep.
just enjoy the ride, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Enjoy the ride.
Man,
I
well,
like
this
it.
is awesome. Tell me where where everybody can find you guys online.
Yeah.
The Brook and the Bluff. It's one of the hardest band names to say when someone asks, "Oh, what's your band?" I'm like, "The Brook and the Bluff," and they're like, "The Broken what?" And I'm like, "Just the Brook and the Bluff," but our like social media handles is just Brook and Bluff. So that's pretty much where we are. Yeah.
Do you think they'll always remember the band name because they had to ask someone to repeat it 4 times?
Yeah, maybe.
Hey,
Like,
depending
what's
on
that
how
band?
they
I couldn't.
sometimes it goes in and out.
Well, remember Toad and the Wet Sprocket. I mean, that's a name for you. And
There you go.
Killer Bands. I think the name stuck. It was definitely different.
Yeah.
6 cents, none the richer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what? Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. This is fantastic, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.